off the tube. Welcome to something a little bit different to usual. I've done a few videos now where I read stories from this steaming pile of a book, and it's awful. It's a book from when I was like 7 that I thought was great at the time, and reading it back now, it absolutely doesn't hold up. Well, that book is awful, and just fell apart on the floor. And yeah, why do we need to restrict ourselves to Enid Blyton's second book of Naughty Children when we can read anything? We could read anything. And recently, as in Saturday it's been, it was the 12th anniversary of popular Doctor Who story Blink. Do you remember that one? Maybe you do. Well, yeah, it turned 12 recently, and um, I was talking to popular Doctor Who YouTuber Doctor Blue about this, and how it came from a short story in the Doctor Who 2006 annual, which I got in 2006. And I remember reading this. It's a great book. It's a really good book. I read it. I enjoyed it. And then when the episode came round, like a year and a bit later, I was like, hold on, I know this story. This is the same story, and it's the same story. Blink is basically the short story from here, written by Stephen Moffat. I should clarify. He wrote it himself, then expanded it into an episode with a few tweaks. Sally Sparrow is a character in this. Larry Nightingale is not. The Weeping Angels, no, no Weeping Angels. There's less of a scary. It's not a very scary story. It's just an interesting story. It's an interesting idea that they've got expanded into a story that happened to be very scary. So I thought today, for the delectation of potentially no one, that I would read this story and I don't know. Will there be anything to riff on? Maybe. Let's have a nice time. Let's have a nice day, and let's read What I Did on My Christmas Holidays by Sally Sparrow by Stephen Moffat. Here's a nice picture of Sally Sparrow. She doesn't look anything like the actress they cast in the episode, but also she's meant to be like 12, so I guess they didn't want to hire a child actress. There's a lot of changes. You'll see as we go. My name is Sally Sparrow. My name is Sally Sparrow. I am 12 years old. I have auburn hair, braces you can hardly see, a dent in my left knee from where I fell off a bicycle when I was 10, and parents. Do you have those? I do. I also have a little brother called Tim. Tim Shaw. Not Tim Shaw. That'd be good though. That'd be a good twist. My mum told Mrs. Medford that Tim wasn't planned, and you can ouch, and you can tell because his nose isn't straight and his hair sticks up, and I can't believe you do all that on purpose. Or his ears. I think just endless sick birds. Poor Tim. I'm sure Tim's lovely. Leave Tim alone. Tim's a nice lad. Just poor Tim. I am top in English, and Mrs. Telfer says I have an excellent vocabulary. I have 16 friends who are mainly girls. I haven't taken much interest in boys yet because of the noise. They are quite noisy. This is a story of the mysterious events that happened to me at my fat aunt's cottage. Goodness me, do you have to be so personal about everyone, Sally Sparrow? No wonder you've only got 16 friends. Are those just like the 16 least like characteristic people that you know, and you just don't have anything mean to say about them? Leave your aunt. Your aunt is just well built, Sally Sparrow. The mysterious events that happened to me at my well-built aunt's cottage at Christmas, and what I discovered under the wallpaper of my bedroom, which caused me to raise my eyebrows with perplexity. Like that. I was staying at my well-built aunt's cottage because my mum and dad had gone on a weekend away. Tim was staying with his friend Rupert, the bear, who I don't think was planned either because of his teeth. We are halfway down the first page, and she's just insulting everyone. What it mean? I don't remember it being this mean. I thought Sally Sparrow was nice. That's not nice. Okay, let's keep going. And I found myself once more in the spare bedroom of my aunt's cottage in the countryside. which is in Devon. Did you know that? The countryside, all of it, all of the countryside is in Devon. I love my aunt's cottage. From a kitchen window, you can see only fields all the way to the horizon, and it's so quiet you can hear water dripping off a leaf from right at the end of the garden. How do you know that's what you're hearing? It could be water dripping off a stick. You don't know. Sometimes when I lie in bed, I can hear a train far away in the distance, and it always fills me with a big sighing feeling, like sadness, only nice. You see, that's kind of like a variation on I like old things, they make me sad. So you can see the connections already. That's the only, it gets more. There's more than just that. Don't worry, I'll keep going. It's good, my bedroom at my aunt's. Really big, with a wardrobe that rattles its hangers when you walk past it, and huge yellow flowers on the wallpaper. When I was little, I used to sit and stare at those flowers, and when no one was looking, I'd try to pick them like they were real flowers. You can still see a little torn bit where I tried to peel one off the wall when I was 3. And every time I go into the room, the first thing I do is go straight to that flower and touch it, just remembering and such. I've talked about it with my dad, and we think it might be nostalgia. I used to have a bit of my wallpaper just over there, where I picked a little hole, I think once. Also in the it's different wallpaper now. It used to be teeny tiny teeny little flowers. I picked one off, and there's a small hole, and then ages later I picked a much bigger bit. And what happened in this did not happen, so I was disappointed. It's because of that flower and the nostalgia that I first met the doctor. It was 3 days before Christmas, and I'd just arrived at my fat aunt's house, and as usual, I'd hugged her and run straight upstairs to my room to hang all my clothes in the rattly wardrobe. And as usual, I'd gone straight to the torn yellow flower on the wall and knelt beside it. I'm bigger now, and touched it. But this time, I did something different. I don't know why. I heard my aunt calling from downstairs that I shouldn't be too long because she'd cooked my favourite, and it was on the table. Right, it doesn't say what is her favourite. I don't know. Her favourite food, it could be anything. It could even be ice cream pudding. We'll never know. There's a detail. For all the details of insulting people, we never learn what her favourite food is. And usually, I'd have run straight down. Maybe it was because I knew she'd want to talk about school, and sometimes you don't want to hear about school. Sorry, Mrs. Telfer. Especially if you've got braces and frizzy hair, and people can be a bit silly about that kind of thing. Okay, Sally, even if they're supposed to be your friends, let's just take a break. We'll take a little break here. So, she's complaining about people making fun of her hair and braces. But Sally, you've been endlessly rude about everyone all the way through. If you don't like taking it, don't give it out, Sally. Don't be mean. Maybe people will be nicer to you. Sally. Okay. Where were we? Maybe it was because I was thinking about being 3 and how much smaller the flowers look now. Actually, I think it was because Mary Phillips had made up a song about my hair and I was feeling a bit cross and my eyes were all stingy and blurry, the way you get when you know you're going to cry if you don't really concentrate. Anyway, my fingers were resting right on the torn bit, and I was thinking about the song and frizziness and such, and suddenly, it was like I just didn't care. And I started to tear the paper a little bit more, just a tiny bit at first. I just sort of tugged it to see what would happen. And I kept going. And you know, sometimes it's like you're in a dream. You're doing something, but it doesn't feel like you're doing it. More like you're just watching. Well, I went right on and peeled the whole flower off the wall, a whole streak of wallpaper, and I just ripped it off. And then, oh my goodness me, I just stared. I once read in a story about a girl who got a fright, and the writer said she felt her hair stand on end. I thought that was rubbish and really stupid. Like my brother. Sally, stop being so mean! Golly gosh. Like my brother. I've lost my place. I thought the writer was probably making that bit up because it couldn't happen, but I was wrong. I could feel it happening now, starting at my neck, all cold, and then on all my scalp just fizzing and tingling. And here is what was written under the wallpaper. Help me, Sally Sparrow. I looked closer, trying to work out if it was a trick, and noticed something else. More words written just under those ones, but still covered by the wallpaper. Well, I thought, I'd already ruined it, so I had nothing to lose. As carefully as I could, I tore off another strip. Beneath the words was just a date. 24/12/85. 20 years ago, because this is set in 2005, because that's when the book was actually published. Don't worry about it. 20 years ago, someone in this room asked for my help. 8 years before I was even born. So that would make you born in 1993. Oh, she's just like a year younger than me. How nice. Maybe I am Sally Sparrow. Big twist. No. Christmas Eve, 1985? Sorry, love. I don't really remember. My aunt was frowning at me across the dinner table, trying to think. Can you really try, please? It's ever so important. Maybe you had guests or friends staying or something. Maybe in my room? Well, we always had Christmas parties when your uncle was still alive. He is still alive. He's living in Stoke with Neville. You can check in the shed. Why would he be in the shed, Auntie? He's very happy with. Okay, this is quite good banter. I'm enjoying this. For the photographs. She was looking at me all severe now. If we had a party, we always had photographs. I always keep my photographs. I'll have a look around. Thanks, Auntie. What does it matter though? Why so interested? I nearly told her, but I knew she'd laugh because really, if you think about it, there was only one explanation. Coincidence. There'd been another Sally in the family I'd never heard about, and whoever had written on that wall 20 years ago, they hadn't meant me, they meant her. They meant that mysterious other Sally from 20 years ago. I wondered what she was like. I wondered where she was now and if her hair was frizzy. And I wondered, most of all, why she'd been kept a dark secret all these many years. Perhaps she'd been horribly murdered for deadly reasons. As I was about to go to bed, I looked hard at my aunt, the way I do when I'm warning adults not to lie to me, and asked, "There was another Sally Sparrow, wasn't there, Auntie? I'm not the first, am I?" My aunt looked at me really oddly for a moment. I half expected her to stagger back against the mantelpiece, all pale and clutching at her bosom and asking in quivery tones how I'd uncovered the family secret and have terrible rending sobs. But no, she just laughed and said, "No, of course not. One Sally Sparrow is quite enough. Now off to bed with you." I lay in my bed, but I couldn't sleep. There had to be another Sally. There just had to be. Otherwise, someone from 20 years ago was trying to talk to me from under the wallpaper, and that was just stupid. It was just stupid. When my aunt came in to kiss me goodnight, I always pretend to be asleep, but I never am. I heard her put something on my bedside table. As soon as I heard the bedroom door close, I jumped and switched the light on. Maybe this was it. Maybe this was her dark confession, the truth about the other Sally Sparrow and her dreadful fate. Sitting on my bedside table was a box. I gasped horrendously. I wondered how big a box would have to be to contain human remains. Very dramatic, isn't she? Human remains. I narrowed my eyes shrewdly and also bravely, and looked at the label on the lid, although I did think labelling murdered human remains would be a bit of an obvious mistake. The label said, "Photographs, 1985. The Christmas party ones were right at the bottom. It took me ages to find. They were just the usual kind, lots of people grinning and dancing and wearing paper hats. My fat aunt was there. So unkind. My fat aunt was there, still with Uncle Hugh, and my mum and dad too, looking all shiny and thin. And then, is there anyone you're not going to be mean to, Sally? And then I saw it. My eyebrows raised in perplexity again, slightly higher this time, because standing right in the middle of one of the photographs was a man with a leather jacket and enormous ears. Bit rude. He was in the middle of a line of grown-ups laughing and dancing, but he was looking right at the camera and holding up a piece of paper like a sign. And on the sign it said, "Help me, Sally Sparrow." Dun dun dun. I gasped even more in amazement. There was another Sally Sparrow. Obviously, she was taking the photograph. And probably she was a bit deaf and you had to talk to her with paper signs because hearing aids hadn't been invented yet. Oh. And then I looked at the next photograph, and that's when everything changed. Suddenly it was like the school bell was ringing in my ears, like that sound effect they used to play in the incidental music in series 1 and 2. And I could feel my heart thudding in my chest so hard you could probably have seen the buttons bouncing on my pajamas. There was the man again, at the back of the photographs, holding up another piece of paper, and this one said, "Look under the wallpaper again." As I reached for the wallpaper again, my hand was shaking away like when you try to do your homework on the school bus. The next bit of writing was much longer, and this is what it said. "This isn't a dream. And by the way, you should never try to do your homework on the school bus. I'm going to prove this is real. Think of a number, any number at all, and then get dressed, find a torch, and see what's carved in the back of the furthest tree in the garden. When people think of a number, they always think of 10 or 7 or something. A number, a normal number. They never think of really big, stupid one. So I did. I thought of a big, stupid one, then I halved it. Then I added my age. Then I took away Tim's age. Then I added 4 just because I felt like it. And then a few minutes later I was standing in the garden shivering, staring at the furthest tree. And there it was, carved like it had been there forever. No one ever thinks of the number 73. In the history of the world, no one has thought of that number for even a second. 73, I've never heard of that. 71, 72, yeah, those are numbers. 74, there's nothing in between them. Never heard of 73. Except me. And the man who had carved the furthest tree in my garden's garden. The furthest tree in my aunt's garden 20 years ago. I sat on my bed for ages, just shaking and wondering what to do now. But it was obvious, really. I tore off the next strip of wallpaper. This time it just said, top shelf in the living room, right at the back. The top shelf was where my aunt kept all her videos. She hardly ever watched television, never mind videos, so they were all very dusty. And right at the back, jammed halfway down the gap at the back of the shelf, was a tape that looked like it had been there for a long time. And stuck on it, a post-it. It said, FAO Sally Sparrow. FAO. I don't know what that stands for. I'll look it up later. I probably should know that. I slipped it into the VCR and kept the television volume really low so as not to wake my aunt. And there, grinning like a loon from the television, was the man from the photographs. Hello, Sally Sparrow. Any questions? He was sitting in my bedroom, only the walls were bare and there was a pair of ladders in the middle of the room, like someone was decorating. I've done that. I could hear party music coming from somewhere downstairs. I wondered if it was the party in 1985. Well, does it sound like 1985 music? What was popular in 1985? Aha, Take On Me. That's 85, right? Well, come on, Sally Sparrow, the man was saying. You've got to have questions. I would. I think I probably would too. Yeah. If I was watching a video and the Doctor was in it and it was interactive, I'd be like, hey, this is an interactive episode of Doctor Who. That's not a question. I frowned. Not a lot of point asking questions when the man you're asking can't hear them. Who says I can't hear you? Grinned the man. I stared. I think I probably gasped. My eyebrows were practically bursting out on top of my head. Golly gosh. It was ridiculous. It was impossible. I hadn't even said that out loud. No, you didn't, said the man, checking on a piece of paper. You just thought that. He glanced at the paper again. Oh, and yeah, you did gasp. How do you know? You only have the paper. She's not sure from the paper if she gasped. How do you know that she gasped when you weren't there? That's the whole point. It doesn't make sense. You know what? It's fine. She did gasp. Who are you? I blurted. That's more like it. Now we're cooking. I'm the Doctor. I'm a time traveler and I'm stuck in 1985 and I need your help. I had so many questions racing around my head. I didn't know which one to pick. How did you get stuck? I said. Parked my time machine in your aunt's shed, was just looking up and it, well, burped. Burped? Yeah, burped. Shot forward 20 years. I hate it when that happens. Yeah, me too. I looked out of the window to where my aunt's shed stood at the end of the garden and I noticed there was something glowing in the windows. Suddenly, I was just a little bit afraid. So it's here, then. Exactly. Nip out to your aunt's shed and you'll find a big blue box, key still in the door. Could just stick around for 20 years and pick it up myself, but I don't want it falling into the wrong hands. How? Because you'd be there as soon as it arrives. What hands? That doesn't make any sense. Just come on that exact day. TARDIS appears. Go in the TARDIS. It's been left unattended for no minutes. That's an easy solution rather than blooming this. Don't want it falling into the wrong hands. He leaned forward to the camera and his eyes just burned at me. And I know you're not the wrong hands, Sally Sparrow. Gosh, that really washes my face out. Leaning that close in. I know you're not the wrong hands, Sally Sparrow, so I want you to fly it back to me. I swallowed hard. This was totally freaky. He glanced at his paper again. You've got another question, I think. He was right. You're just on videotape. How can you hear me? He smiled. Actually, I can't. Can't hear a thing. I just happen to know everything you and me are going to say in this whole conversation. How? Because Mary Phillips made up a song about your hair. Oh, how do you like it now, Sally Sparrow? How do you like it now? She's another foot, isn't it, Sally Frizzy Hair Sparrow? I could hardly breathe for all the gasping. And you punched her, didn't you, Sally Sparrow? Gosh, she's violent as well as rude. And then you got a punishment. My face was burning. How did he know all this? I hadn't even told my mum and dad. You got Christmas homework, an essay about what you did over the Christmas holidays. He grinned. And I've got a copy. I've got a copy too. It's in this book. And this is the freakiest part of all, because he held a copy of the actual essay I'm writing right now. He didn't have it in the Doctor Who Annual 2006. He had the original. What? What a twist. I know everything you're going to ask when you see this tape, because I've already read the essay you wrote about it. That's how I knew what to write on the wall. You'll have to show me exactly where, by the way. And that's how I knew what number you were thinking of. But, I could hardly think from my mind racing. How did he get a copy of my Christmas homework? I haven't even written it yet. Told you, I'm a time traveller. I got it in the future from a beautiful woman on a balcony in Istanbul. He smiled like it was a happy memory. She was some sort of spy, I think. Amazing woman. I just had a sword fight on the roof with two Sontarans, and she saved me from the second one. Then she gave me your Christmas homework and told me to keep it on me at all times, because I need it one day. He grinned, and she was right. A spy in the future was going to have a copy of my Christmas homework? Talk about pressure! He was looking at his watch. Okay, that's just about time up. Gonna need you to get to the time machine and fly it here. I can't fly a time machine. I had stabilizers on my bike till I was 9. I couldn't ride a bike at all until I was like 12, so you do better than me, Sally. Sally, I absolutely know that you can do this. And you know how I know? How? Because I've read to the end of your story, he laughed. Also, you hear that noise? I'm not very good at TARDIS noise. I've got a sore throat as well, so I can't really do TARDIS noise. Coming from the television, a terrible wheezing and groaning. What's that? He was still grinning. That's you! Harsh. I don't make that noise. Very well. Behind the man, a huge blue box had just appeared out of thin air. I stared at it. There were words over the door, and I squinted closer to read them. I should have known. He looked like a policeman. That's your time machine. Yep, like it? But who flew it there? You could almost get tired of that grin. You did. The doors of the big blue box were opening, and then the most amazing thing ever. I stepped out of the box. Me, not Sally Sparrow. Actually, no, it was Sally Sparrow. Me, Sally Sparrow. Another me stepped out of the time machine and waved at the camera. Hello, Sally Sparrow 2 hours ago, said the other me. It's great in there. You're going to love it. It's bigger on the inside. See, said the man. Told you could fly a time machine. Yeah, it's easy, said the other Sally. It homes in on his watch anyway. You just have to press the reset button next to the phone. Who told you that? I asked her. A frown clouded her face. I did, she said, and looked puzzled. The man looked a little cross about that. Yeah, well, before you set off any more time paradoxes, Sally Sparrow, he gave me a teacher look from the television, go and do your homework. Yeah, said the other Sally. You've got to write the... I don't know why she's being so smug with herself now. Yeah, said the other Sally. You've got to write the essay before you can fly the time machine. It'll take you about 2 hours. I feel like it's taken me about 2 hours to read it, but that's because I keep stopping to talk nonsense. That's enough, both of you, said the man. Got enough paradoxes going on here without the pair of you having a chat. But listen, it's going to be great, said the other Sally. And she gave me the biggest, most excited smile ever. And oh goodness, you can see my braces. And so here I am, finishing my essay. It's nearly 2 o'clock in the morning. Wow, you've been up really late. And in a minute I'll be fetching the shed key from the kitchen drawer and setting off across the garden on a trip of a lifetime. I tell you what it will be, the trip of a lifetime. A big amazing adventure, not my last one either, oh no. Just the first of lots and lots for the rest of my life probably. Suddenly I don't care what my aunt's going to say about the torn wallpaper or what Mary Phillips thinks about my hair. I'll go back to school after the holidays and I'll just be nice to her and she can make up all the songs she wants. I'll join in if it makes her happy. You see, I know the best thing in the world. I know what's coming. I asked the man one more question before the end of the tape. I asked how a beautiful woman spy in the future could have a copy of my Christmas homework. Can't you guess? He smiled. Not grinned, smiled. Very different thing. Her name, he continued, was Sally Sparrow. What a twist! It was Sally Sparrow the whole time! The big blue box is waiting in the shed at the end of the garden, and I've finished my homework. Well, that was What I Did on My Christmas Holidays by Sally Sparrow. And it's interesting how similar it is and also how different. We've got the wallpaper with messages behind them. We've got conversation with a pre-recorded message, which exists because the doctor who's having the conversation got a copy um, of the text that is written about the conversation they had. But then everything else is kind of not there. But you don't really. And the doctor's stuck in the past, just minus the alien threat. And yeah, I think that's quite an interesting story. I remember really liking it at the time. Does it hold up? Yeah. But I mean, Sally Sparrow is really mean. Um, and she's annoyed about other people being mean to her, but then she's really mean to other people. Pick one. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. I definitely did. I don't know if I'll be reading more Doctor Who stories. I still have more of that awful book on the floor to read. But who knows? Maybe I will. Doctor Who has an anniversary every year. Maybe I'll do another chapter of that for that. But yeah, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.
Tell me a story, oh ho ho. It's not nearly Christmas, oh ho ho. It's a story, oh ho ho. I don't like this, oh ho ho. That is what Sewage said when he watched this, oh ho ho.
There is a story from, I think, the 2007 storybook, which is like almost exactly the same concept for the creature as Listen with Peter Capaldi, which is also a Moffat story, and the story in the book was a Moffat story. So that's one I might read, but it's more detached. And Moffat did, obviously that's clearly the same story. Moffat said he didn't remember the other one, so we'll maybe read that sometime. Maybe we won't. Who knows? Boat or hat? Who knows? Bye.